Welcome to the Fourth and Long podcast with your host, Alec Pecado. On today's show, it is a loaded show. You'll get my top five offensive players to watch, top five teams, as well as my head coach's hot seat, and a lot more. Why don't we jump right in and get started with the top five players to watch in 2026 on the offensive side of the football? Correction is six. My top six players to watch. Starting with number six, Byron Brown of Auburn. If you know me, you know I am a USF fan, and I'm going to miss Byron Brown with USF. He is now at Auburn, and I think he's going to have a wonderful season at Auburn with the Tigers. And Auburn is going to be one of the teams that I might talk about later on in the episode. But Byron Brown had a really good statistical year for USF last year. And I think he's in for a bigger year with Auburn this year, under the same head coach that he had at South Florida and Alex Golish. And I think Auburn might be one of the teams you hear me talk about in my teams to watch. But why don't we hop ahead to number five on the list? And it is Texas Tech wide receiver Malcolm Simmons. Simmons is going to step into a bigger role for Texas Tech this year with the departure of Caleb Douglas to the NFL and a few other wide receivers that left the program to go elsewhere. I think that he Simmons, I think, is going to have at least 900 yards receiving this year and at least 8 touchdowns. Then again, he could have more or he could even have less. But I see at least 900 yards receiving for him this year because it's going to be him and Micah Hudson as the top two receivers at Texas Tech. Number 4 is freshman wide receiver at Ohio State, Chris Henry Jr. If you don't know the name Chris Henry Jr., get ready to, because he's the next big wide receiver from Ohio State as a freshman. He's going to get playing time this year. He's probably going to be one of the rotational receivers in his first year because you still got Jeremiah Smith, Brandon Ennis, Devin McEwen's there, Kyle Parker, Brock Boyd, and a few other receivers, as well as Bo Jackson at running back. But I'm going to say this with all due respect. I believe Chris Henry Jr. could be the next star wide receiver from Ohio State. Number 3 is quarterback Hank Brown from Iowa. Hank Brown has had quite the journey. He is probably going to be the QB1 at Iowa this year, which is shocking because I don't know if you would want to trust Hank Brown as your starting quarterback. But it seems like Iowa's probably going to have to do that because I don't know who else they have on their roster. And for me, that's scary if you don't know who else Iowa has a quarterback. But then again, it's Kirk Ferentz. And Iowa's offense was decent last year to my expectations. But I think Hank Brown could turn this offense from being subpar to above average. in a snap of a finger. I also like the fact for for Iowa that they do have a lot of returning production coming back. My number 2 player to watch this year going into 2026 is Tennessee running back Deshaun Bishop. Bishop got a lot of playing time last year for Tennessee. He's going to get a lot of playing time this year, and he's probably going to be the RB1 for Tennessee. And to me, that's significant. And my number 1 player to watch is freshman quarterback Faison Brandon and quarterback George McIntyre, both from Tennessee. What's his name? Josh Heupel has not named a starting quarterback yet. It's going to be one of these 2 guys. It has to be. You can't tell me you're going to go with Ryan Staub at quarterback. Because if you go with Ryan Staub, you are in big trouble. And now, ladies and gentlemen, we will get here in a second because I want to show you something. So I am going to show you the said website that we have. Right here. Here is the sportsbreakdown.net website. As you can see, the main page is MLB. This is where you can find slides for MLB, college football, which I'm still working on stuff for college football that's going to go up on the screen on the website, if I could speak. And I'm also going to have stuff up there for the NFL. So check out the website, please. And we do have a new addition to the website. It is the merch store. So click here, click on merch. And it pulls up the website for you. Look at that. College Football Podcast. You've got the 4th and Long podcast merch. So that is your look at our website. Now, we get back to the regularly scheduled. Here are my top 5 teams to watch for the 2026 college football season. And at number 5, I spoke about a certain player on this team earlier, and I said you might hear me talk about them in a little bit. It is Auburn. DJ Durkin is back as the defense coordinator. They brought in Alex Golesh to be the head coach, and Golesh brought a bunch of his Louis luggage from South Florida to Auburn. And I believe Auburn, people are sleeping on Auburn. I'm very high on them this year, and I know that might come back to bite me because it tends to come back to bite me all the time. But I'm high on Auburn this year, and I think you should be too. My number 4 team to watch this year in college football is the South Florida Bulls. Yes, I know they lost Alex Golesh and Byron Brown, but I'm putting my money where my mouth is. I still think South Florida is in a good spot. Home run hire of the offseason by hiring Coach Hartline from Ohio State to be their next head coach. And I've heard from a lot of USF fans they love the hire. It is one of the better hires they've made recently. And I think they're going to be a really good team this year. My number 3 team to watch, teams, it's plural, is North Dakota State and Sacramento State. Both in their first year at the Football Bowl subdivision level. We in DSU, we knew eventually they were going to jump to the big time. And then Sacramento State, same thing. We kind of knew within the next couple of years. Like last year, they wanted to, but they tried to get into the Pac-12. That didn't work. They tried to get into the Mountain West. That didn't work. And then this year, they got accepted into the MAC, which I'll go on a whole different spiel about that at a different time because I just this whole realignment thing to me is ridiculous. But I want you to keep an eye on both of these teams and see who has the better season. I think it's going to be North Dakota State because Sacramento State, I feel bad for them. If you look at their schedule, their first year in the FBS, they're going to break travel records with the amount of travel they have to do. My number 2 team to watch it's the new Pac-12, which if you want to hear me talk more about that, we look it out. It's either going to be Monday or Tuesday night at 10 p.m. on this YouTube channel. I will be doing a conference preview for the SEC, ACC, Pac-12, and Mountain West. Those 4 conferences on Monday or Tuesday night. I haven't really decided yet, but one of those 2 days. I like the new Pac-12, but I think the old Pac-12 should have never disbanded. And my number 1 team to watch for 2026 is the Michigan State Spartans. They made an interesting hire at head coach this offseason, and it was Coach Pat Fitzgerald. Pat Fitzgerald was hired as the new head coach of Michigan State. I like the hire. I think he's going to bring the toughness back to Michigan State that we remember them for under Mark D'Antonio. In the first couple years under Mel Tucker, before they had all those issues. Now we will get to episode 32 here in 2 seconds. 1, 2. Welcome to episode 32 of the Fourth and Long podcast with Alec Peccato. And let's get right into it. Here's my head coach's hot seat. Way too early head coach's hot seat. We start with the no chance category. And we've got Dabo Swinney from Clemson. I mean, I've heard people say that he's got to get fired if they have another bad season. I don't see it. Because I've been telling people this for the past 2 years. If Dabo gets fired, people are not going to look at him and say, oh, he failed at Clemson. No. They're going to say, oh, this guy's won a couple national championships. He's had a bunch of guys drafted to the NFL. So there's no way he's getting fired. Number 2 on the no chance category is Dan Lanning is Ryan Day at Ohio State. And I'm a Buckeye fan. Yes, I know there's some Ohio State fans that still want Ryan Day gone because they say, oh, he's won 1 national championship as head coach at Ohio State. And you're supposed to, your 2 main goals are winning national championships and beating Michigan. Well, he's accomplished one of those. He beat Michigan last year, and I think they're going to do it again this year. So, Ohio State fans, pump the brakes and cool off about firing Ryan Day. And last one is Dan Lanning. The only way he leaves Oregon is if somebody else, another big name school, gives him the bag to become their head coach. That is the only way he leaves Oregon. And I'm going to throw any of the other big name head coaches in there. So let's just go with, let's say, Mario Cristobal in Miami. Rhett Lashley at SMU. James Franklin at Virginia Tech. Matt Campbell at Penn State. That's it for those. They will not get fired unless a recruiting scandal or something comes up. Now we get to the warm seat, which these guys right now, their seat's warm, but if they have a bad start to next season, they could easily be fired. First one is Jay Swavell from Wyoming. I don't know why he's even still the head coach of Wyoming. They had a awful season last year, and I don't understand how in the world he still has a job. Two is Bill Belichick at North Carolina. Belichick's seat is warm for one reason. I think the AD is going to give him the benefit of the doubt, knowing that he's he's won a lot of Super Bowls. But I think if North Carolina does start the season off poorly like they did last year, the AD and the football department will not hesitate to pull the plug on Belichick. Next is Derek Mason at Middle Tennessee State. Coach, I've met Coach Mason in person before when he was the coach at Vanderbilt. They used to have this the Outback Bowl Summer Splash in Tampa, and I would go every year growing up. Met Coach Mason, met John Gruden. Coach Mason, great guy. But I think if MTSU starts the season off slow, I think there's a chance that Derek Mason is going to be the beneficiary of getting fired. Next, and that's it for that section. Now we get to the people's seats that are on fire. And we start with the most obvious one, and it is Mike Norvell at Florida State. He might not get fired during the season, but I think if Florida State has another bad year, they will fire Mike Norvell, and it might happen at the end of the season when his buyout goes down significantly, and they can look into a guy, maybe Deion Sanders, who I did not put on this list, but I wanted to. But I will be doing an updated list after every week. The next one is Shane Beamer at South Carolina. I know South Carolina fans are going to say, oh, but every year you say you're high on South Carolina. Yes, I know. I'm aware that I say I'm high on South Carolina. Issue is, am I really? Can I trust that Shane Beamer is going to do good? No, I can't. But can Shane Beamer get himself off the hot seat list? Yes. Any of these coaches can. Next is Maryland head coach Mike Locksley. Locksley, I don't know why Maryland didn't just fire him after last year in their horrible season. They fooled everybody. They started off undefeated, and then it got to October, and they fizzled out. And the last one is Dave Aranda. Big year for Dave Aranda at Baylor. If they don't win a lot of games, he's gone. And that wraps up this episode and the show of the Fourth and Long podcast. Please remember, like, subscribe, turn on notifications. I will see everybody back here either Monday night for the SEC, ACC, Pac-12, and Mountain West preview, or Tuesday night. I'm probably leaning toward Tuesday night at 10 p.m. for that. So be looking out for that. And also be looking out for another college football podcast episode Tuesday night at 5:30. Have a good rest of your Saturday, ladies and gentlemen.